They said this year we're going to start off crazy, and well, it hasn't disappointed. I wanted to take a second and do a video to all those that have been calling my office regarding some of the legislation related to the Second Amendment, specifically an email that had come out lying about my position on one of these pieces. We'll get to that in a second, but first I wanted to thank you for all the calls. Whether you called me to inquire about my position because you couldn't believe what was in the email and we had a great conversation, whether you called me with a little bit of an elevated concern and passion about what you read in an email, I appreciate those calls as well. Even though they may have been a little misplaced because of the email that was sent around, I know it's only because of this passion that us that support the Second Amendment have as to why we're getting so much momentum pushing back against this overreach that's occurring in the General Assembly. I know that those of you that called me in an elevated passion state are going to have that same passion when you call the next set of people who honestly do want to take away some of our rights as law-abiding gun owners in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I really appreciate all the calls and had a lot of great conversations. The piece of the email that went around was related to red flag laws. Now, I've never supported red flag laws, don't support red flag laws. I'm not quite sure why it went a huge email, I think 6-7 pages, went around by from a person who shall not be named. It's not worth mentioning his name and the organization. Honestly, he gets his notoriety from what he told me. He has 27 Republican scalps on his head next to his deer head. I tend not to care much for threats, and I tend not to hold people in high regard who want to brag about taking down our fellow Republicans that honestly are trying to defend our rights. But that being said, he tried to raise money off of it. I hope he got some, because I'd imagine that some of that money at least is being used actually fighting those that are against our gun rights in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But related to the red flag law specifically, I have major concerns about red flag, as all of you do, and I wanted to share my concerns in hopes that as we continue to explain the opposition to red flag laws to our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues that may seem supportive, that we can do so in a manner that hopefully others around the Commonwealth understand. You see, as Republicans, we've all said that the most important thing is making sure that those that should not have a firearm are not in possession of a firearm. And that's still true now. And some people look at that red flag law and say, Glenn, but this is how we do it, and that's not how it's done. You see, as all of us know, it's about due process. We live in a country that says that if I violate something, if I violate a law, if I'm not supposed to have firearms, the first thing that happens is there's due process before I lose my rights. But that's not how the Senate bill was drafted. The Senate bill was drafted that a law enforcement officer who thinks I'm a threat to myself or someone else could then go to a judge, and if the judge agrees, come to my house, take my firearms for 14 days or up to 14 days, I get my chance at a hearing. That's not how our nation works. Our nation isn't founded upon I lose rights until I can be proven innocent. It's I get to keep my rights until I can be proven guilty. I spent the morning yesterday at an NRA press conference, and there they had a amazing and brave lady who shared her story as a law-abiding gun owner who went to a school that didn't allow firearms on campus. So she left her firearm at home and unfortunately experienced a terrible, tragic, violent situation that she was not able to defend herself with. I don't want to be the reason why someone experiences a similar situation during a 14-day period when they're a law-abiding gun owner. So that's how I explain it to those around me that think that it makes sense for red flag laws. I hope you do the same. I know we all support the Second Amendment. We all support firearms. And we talk about that around the kitchen table, but there are many others out there that may not talk a lot about the Second Amendment, but they definitely talk about the ability to protect themselves and their family. So that's my position on it. Please continue to give me a ring. I love talking to everyone, so just because the email was wrong and the lies that were in it, but I love the conversations. It's interesting, actually, the front page had something like this. I guess I'm a communist now. So it's kind of hysterical because the guy that sent this out really is the same guy that when he came after me over the summer, couldn't even spell my name right. But I'm the guy that spent 18 months running for lieutenant governor, going around the Commonwealth talking about my grandfather and great-grandfather who came to this country from Italy. They came here for the American dream, just a chance to have a level playing field and create something for themselves and that family. So it's kind of ironic that I end up on this, communist hit piece. But what's even more ironic is the gentleman I'm on there with, Jason Miar, is a good friend of mine from Virginia Beach. If you know Jason, Jason tells the story of how his mother escaped communist Cuba to come to the United States to get away from Castro. And he tells the story, the first thing they did over there before they went after their citizens was take away the firearms. So for Jason to be on this piece is just really ironic, and I'm sure he's completely offended by it. So you can't believe everything you read or hear, especially from this guy that shall not be named. I think that's how they say it in Harry Potter, Andrew, right?
You're right.
So, but I do appreciate the calls. The second thing I want to chat about briefly is my bill that I put in related to concealed carry safety training. So this is another situation that gentleman decided to completely misrepresent. And he put it out there that I'm trying to make it become more onerous and have a new class that you have to take to get your concealed carry permit. And not true at all. In the Commonwealth of Virginia today, there is a requirement for a gun safety course to get a concealed carry permit. I think it's kind of weird that we trust everyone to carry a firearm on their hip, but the minute a lady wants to put it in their purse or a mail into their backpack, now they take a firearm safety course. But regardless, we know that requirement's not going away. My big concern was if it's going to be required to make sure that out-of-state companies that do some of these online trainings don't take advantage of Virginians in the process, which is what was happening. For those of you that may have seen some of these videos, a lot of them were somewhat worthless. I mean, literally, one of them said, here's the chamber of a firearm, and I always point the firearm in a safe direction, which might not be down because you could be standing over top of someone. And I would tell you, if you need to hear that, you're probably the only person that shouldn't probably have a firearm. And there are a lot of us that may have had prior experience with firearms before we got our concealed carry permit. But as you can imagine today, there are a lot of individuals whose first experience with a firearm may have been the pawn shop or the gun shop. And they're truly looking for information on how to be a law-abiding concealed carry permit holder going forward. And they think that this class, whether online or in person, is going to supply that for them. Now, I thought, well, the best way to stop someone from being taken advantage of is get rid of the online course. And I talked to a friend of mine, and he said, Glenn, how about those with disabilities that can't maybe get to some of the locations where they have these courses or has an emergency and needs to be able to have that firearm concealed that they already own? And I said, I hadn't thought about that. And then it dawned on me that, I may live, in an urban part of the country or of the state, but there are those that live in a rural part, and, those ranges may not be close enough or those classes not that often. And then lastly, I realized that there also may be people that are somewhat intimidated to walk into a gun safety course having no prior knowledge of firearms and thinking they're going to be around a lot of people that know much more. So there is that value to the online course. And what we decided on is there has to be a way to keep the online course while making sure that when someone pays that $30 to $60 for the online course, that they're getting the information that they expect and they desire to be that online or to be that law-abiding concealed carry permit holder. For example, I remember years ago, the first thing I thought of after getting my concealed carry permit that wasn't shared was the obligation when you get pulled over by a law enforcement officer at a traffic stop. Now, I can Google what my obligations are and what I have to share with the officer, but what is the best practice to do that? Now, I was smart enough to realize the answer wasn't to have the officer walk up and me say, "Officer, I've got a gun." Not the right approach there, but I didn't know what was best practice. And after about a number of YouTube searches and looking through different things and different videos and their suggestions, I found what I thought was best practice, and I'm sure all of you agree, is to keep your driver's license next to your concealed carry. If you get pulled over, you hand the officer both of them together. Maybe make a statement, officer, I just want you to know I'm a law-abiding concealed carry permit holder, and my firearm is located wherever it is while your hands are on the steering wheel. And that's something that should be shared with with others that as they get their concealed carry permit and desire to have this information. Other pieces of information that are helpful is, what is allowable when it comes to use of deadly force? What is brandishing a weapon? Those are things that sometimes people don't know, and unfortunately until it's too late. As we all know, concealed carry permit holders want to be law-abiding citizens, but they're not all attorneys. And so many of them, when they take that course, they expect to get this information, or they don't know what they don't know, and this should be explained to them. It's not, and unfortunately some of them find out too late. So that was my desire. And so what we put together was a number of amendments, working with some friends of mine with the VCDL, and saying, okay, how do we do this with still allowing that online class? And we'll do a separate video on that as well. But basically, we're going to make sure that certain parts of the law are enforced. For example, when you go online to watch these courses, it's already mandated that the individual doing the class has to be a certified instructor in NRA or Virginia. But now there's no way to check that. Most of these classes don't give you a name or say anything, and I swear some of these are probably B-rate actors. So it starts out where the videos have to say, my name is, and give your certification. Additionally, while we won't mandate what has to be in that course, as Virginia doesn't today, we will require that before someone pays their money, that it be notated whether or not that video actually addresses some of the laws, regulations, and best practices around being a concealed carry permit holder in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And if someone's looking to take a gun safety course that doesn't care about that, they can take it. And if they're a new concealed carry permit holder or desire to be, and that's the information they're looking for, they know whether that class has that information in there before they waste an hour of their life. So there's things like that we were looking at putting in, and one thing that we've also got that the NRA and the VCDL have been working on for quite some time is helping to promote firearm awareness, firearm safety awareness. We all know with the hurricane preparedness tax holiday that when that comes around and all the PR it gets, that's kind of what jogs a lot of our memories that hurricane season's coming around. It'd be great to have a similar thing that just remind people in the busyness of their day to take a second to think about firearm safety. And if there's things that they'd like to have around in their house towards that end. And then give them a 3-day tax holiday during that period to be able to acquire a gun safe or whatever it is that they like to acquire to ensure better safety around their house and their family. So I'm excited about having that in there as well, and we'll, like I said, do a different video on that later. But that covers the two main points that I really wanted to kind of address here. But most importantly, thank you all for the calls. And if you're down here on Lobby Day, please come by and say hi. Contrary to those emails that you may have seen that make me to be a communist member, we are huge Second Amendment supporters in this office. I mean, whether you come see me, you come see Mara, heck, Andrew used to be a gun safety range officer. I guarantee you're not going to be disappointed. So I really do appreciate actually that guy sending them around, because I have a lot of really good friends now across the Commonwealth of Virginia, both VCDL members and otherwise. And I also appreciate all the outreach that you all have done. And I look forward to seeing everyone on Monday down here during Lobby Day.